I'm Kandi Debus. I'm with Navy Region Southeast, and I'm going to talk briefly about INFAS, how to register for help, and for those that aren't in INFAS, because we have some of our retirees here, on what we can do for you as well following a disaster, how to get help, what's the purpose of the system, and are you guys going to cover EFAC?
Nope, you are.
I'm going to cover EFAC? Got it. And then we'll talk about the Emergency Family Assistance Center that the Clayton family will stand up after the fact. So everybody knows what INFAS is. So we're just going to talk briefly about how it came to be. INFAS was built after Hurricane Katrina in 2005 when we had 22,000 Navy family members directly impacted by the storm. The Navy looked for a platform to be able to provide response and assistance to those families that were impacted. The system has evolved over time, and we now use that system to do our personnel accountability mustering that occurred in 2008. We track our exceptional family members. In INFAS as well, provide non-clinical case management, and we also provide assistance to our individual augmentee family support through that. So the system has evolved. Later this year, INFAS is going completely purple. The Air Force had already purchased the system under AFPAS. The Army had it called it APAS, and now the Marines, DOD has directed the Marines to purchase the system. So we will have a completely purple platform within the database. That's what it looks like. This is how you're registering for help. Gives you the muster option if you're in there. So if there's a personnel accountability event, how do I register? I think it's important for our sailors to make sure your families also know how to get to the system. So if you're on a boat, the boat bugs out, the family members need to know how to go in, let everybody know they're safe, how to register for help. It's all part of building that resiliency so our families know where to go and get that support that they need. The database looks like. So when you go into the INFAS system, so we know you're supposed to go in twice a year to update your information. We still have folks that go in and mark everything as current, I'm good to go. And when we try to find those folks following a large-scale disaster event, we're unable to do that because the phone numbers aren't working, the emails get returned. This is really important. Post-Katrina, so I was here during that time at Mayport, and the ombudsman for the Stephen Gates was going, they stayed in Pensacola, and they were going every day into Mississippi to try to find their families. They didn't know where their families were. They didn't know how to locate those families. They had no emergency contacts to do that. We don't want to put ourselves back in that situation, risking the lives of others to go find our families. This allows us to do that. It also gives you a spot where you can designate an emergency contact. So if the Navy can't find you or your family members, then we know to contact that emergency contact and find out where you are. For the family member information, it's important that you list in this page only page 2 dependents. So the earthquake in Haiti, Stephen Schmuckatelli went in and added 11 non-page 2 dependents. And we had commands now trying to find these 11 folks that we're not technically responsible for, with aunts and uncles to try to muster and help. So make sure your information is clean. So just go in and look and just verify that everything's correct. If your DEERS data and your INFAS data don't match, if DEERS is wrong, make sure you go and update your DEERS data. This is the event information tab. It gives you the option you can go in and indicate, did you evacuate? Is your service member deployed? Do you have pets? Do you have school-aged children? Have you registered for FEMA? Who's your homeowner's insurance or your renter's insurance through? That helps build a platform so we can see what type of support and assistance our families need, both short-term and long-term. If we had a large-scale event and we have a lot of school-aged children impacted, we know that we need to bring in the school liaison officer and work with our local school system to find out what resources or how we're going to do that. If we set up a long-term safe haven someplace else, we need to know what resources we need to co-locate with at that long-term safe haven. Also for pets, if there's a safe haven location designation, so for Katrina it was Pensacola. They ended up building animal kennels in Pensacola for the folks that were displaced to be able to shelter their animals. So that just allows Big Navy to kind of look at what we need to put on the ground to support our families in need. For the FEMA number and the insurance number, if you're impacted and you require the assistance of an emergency case manager, and we'll talk about that briefly, Guadalupe Pena is the emergency case manager here at Naval Station Mayport, but it allows her to work with those entities and advocate on your behalf. So it just allows her to kind of, it gives her that other step of information that she's advocating for you. I include this information. This is the IA preferred contact page. So for those that have been impacted by an individual augmentee tour that go on an IA, in this IA preferred contact, you designate who you want your contact to be. That information is critical because what happens is it can be a smaller scale event. And if we have tornadoes, so every day I have to go in and check the weather. If I have tornadoes in the middle of nowhere, you've designated your grandmother in Arkansas as your IA preferred contact, and they have a tornado in Arkansas, I can Google that area. I can go into the database, put in that city, and if there's a tornado there, then the individual deployment support specialist that's attached to that family will call them and knows to call them outside of their normal rotation to check on them post-tornado and see if they're impacted. So that's crucial in supporting our families throughout that IA deployment spectrum. So the needs assessment. Something we do within Southeast, which is unique to Southeast. If Skipper called for evacuation of this installation, we would open up the INFAST needs assessment module during the evacuation process. Most of our regions will open it up after the storm to give you an idea, to register to an idea what your needs may be. We do it during the evacuation process so that those families that may need assistance during the evacuation process can go ahead and register for help. So if you're evacuating and you're pregnant, and especially late-term pregnancies, and you kind of don't know where you're going, or if you need emergency funds, we can kind of let you know, or if you've evacuated and you run out of money, we can kind of direct you to how to get those funds to you. Transportation, if you don't know how to go, you don't know where to go. Those are things you can register for during the evacuation process. Otherwise, we ask that you wait until after you've gotten home and you're able to assess what your true needs may be before you do a needs assessment. This is what the assessment looks like. You go through, it's 19 questions, 19 need categories. You're not impacted. If you need no assistance, you just put not affected all the way down, nothing happens. At any point that you indicate not sure or needs assistance, you get a breakout. Based on the answer to that breakout, it assigns a numeric score. Our response is based off of that numeric score. We try to get the 3s and 4s first, especially in areas of temporary housing, medical needs, financial needs, clinical counseling needs, chaplain, so that those folks that may identify a more critical need are able to get that support. Once you've submitted your assessment, you can make changes up until which time it is assigned and opened by an emergency case manager. Our case managers have 72 hours of which to respond. Within the last 2 hurricane seasons, our case managers were actually opening the majority of our cases. About 90% of our cases were open within 6 to 12 hours. So what's our goal? Our goal is to take care of our own, to empower our families, and really just point you to the resources to help advocate on your behalf. So what is an EFAC? Emergency Family Assistance Centers will be stood up post-event to support those families. The Fleet Family Support Center here at Naval Station Mayport, Amy did one for Hurricane Matthew and then got to go back and do another one a year later under Hurricane Irma. Last year during the season we had EFACs through Texas for Harvey, for Irma, for Maria, because we had families coming here from Puerto Rico. So we really were able to, as a region as a whole, flex many of our EFACs that hadn't been to really open full scale in a long time. An EFAC provides a one-stop shop. We provide all the subject matter experts under one roof that allow you to come in and go talk to neighboring home relief for funds, allows you to meet with PSD, allows you to meet with legal, for a clinician to meet with an emergency case manager. All that's provided under one stop. We could potentially, we have the ability to call in FEMA and bring in a FEMA rep, bring in blue tarp. So all those resources that we identify that we need, we can bring them into one location. The other thing is, EFACs aren't just for weather disasters. It can be a command incident. It can be, so we deployed, although Chattanooga happened at a Navy Operational Support Center, we actually deployed folks from the Fleet and Family Support Center to Chattanooga to support those people that were impacted during that disaster, that crisis as well. What is the role of the case manager? Provides you one single person that's helping you navigate throughout your disaster recovery. The person will advocate, they will connect you to resources, they provide that follow-up. There's no timeline, so the Navy doesn't say, okay, well, you get a case manager for this long. Our oldest case, we had the system lasted for 3 years. So for 3 years, that civilian, it was a Navy civilian, was provided support throughout their recovery process. It was a Katrina family. For our retirees, although you're not in the NFAS system, if you required support following a disaster, you could go to the EFAC and we would manually add you into the same database to be able to provide you that same level of support and assistance that we're providing to our other members of the Navy family. Your case manager will follow you until which time either you have no identified needs left or until you feel you've got it on your own and you're good to go. Again, priorities for deployed personnel. What a case manager cannot provide. They cannot issue funds. They can't deliver supplies. If you go to an area that doesn't have Navy presence and you need resources in that area, we'll connect you with local resources in that particular area where you are. They cannot change policy. Any questions? Emergency Family Assistance, NFAS? Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming out, and especially our resources. You know, big props to you. Couldn't have done it without you. My ombudsman, our ombudsman. Thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate that. Your ombudsman have specific flyers. There's an app for that always, and they also have next is always free, but next the first through the 7th, the state is tax-free. They have a list. Any questions, comments, concerns? The resources will be here for about another hour if you want to go around and check it out and ask some questions.